All right, welcome. Today we are diving deep into an ancient victory song, Psalm 21. Now, this thing is a wild ride. On one hand, it's a song of pure celebration, but on the other, it is brutally violent. So we're going to break down its structure and its imagery to see what this ancient song can tell us about that timeless and pretty intense connection between triumph and destruction.
So, what's really inside a song like this? Let's, just for a second, set aside the fact that it's a religious text. I want us to look at it as this fascinating artifact of human expression. It's like a window, right? A window into how an ancient culture celebrated a win, how they defined power, and how they thought about conflict. It's a raw, unfiltered look at joy, loyalty, and, yeah, the brutal fate of your enemies.
Okay, so the psalm kicks off with an absolute explosion of joy. I mean, this first part is all about the king's celebration. And we're not talking about just some quiet satisfaction. This is pure, unadulterated happiness after a huge success. And right away, notice the direct link being made here. The very first line doesn't give credit to the king's army or his own brilliant strategy. Nope. It says his joy comes from a higher strength, that the victories themselves are a gift. And that single idea, it really sets the tone for the entire song. And this isn't just some vague happy feeling. The text gets super specific. It's almost like a checklist of rewards, detailing exactly why the king is so pumped. It moves from that general feeling of joy to the tangible proof of victory. So let's just look at this list. You've got a crown of pure gold. That's wealth, that's authority. Then the gift of a long life. I mean, that's the ultimate blessing, right? Splendor and majesty, that's all about status and glory. And then, finally, it comes right back around to an emotional reward, the joy of being in the divine presence. This just paints a picture of complete and total success, covering everything from power and longevity to reputation and spiritual well-being, the whole shebang. So we've seen what the king got, all the amazing rewards, but the psalm doesn't just stop there. It actually pivots from listing the gifts to explaining the very foundation of his power, of his stability. Why is he so successful in the first place? And here's the crucial point. According to this text, the source of all this success isn't the king himself. It's his trust in the Lord. This is presented as the absolute bedrock of his entire reign. This reliance on something way beyond his own abilities is what actually makes him strong. And this line right here from verse 7, this is the anchor of the whole psalm. He will not be shaken. Just think about what that means for a leader in an ancient, often brutal world. It's a declaration of absolute security. This trust is what makes him immovable, steadfast, and, in the end, unbeatable. All right, get ready, because this is where the tone shifts dramatically. After building up the king's unshakable joy and power, the song turns its focus outward with a pretty chilling description of the fate that's waiting for his enemies. And make no mistake, this is totally intentional. The whole structure is designed to create this powerful contrast. Everything the king has received, blessings, life, joy, is deliberately set against what his enemies are going to face. It's a literary move that makes the king's victory feel even more total. I mean, just look at this comparison. On one side, you've got all the king's rewards. On the other, the consequences for his foes. It's a perfect mirror and image of destruction. A crown of pure gold for him, being seized by a powerful hand for them. Unending blessings versus being swallowed in wrath. The joy of being in God's presence versus having your entire family line destroyed. The contrast just couldn't be more extreme. And the imagery here, wow, it is so visceral. This quote from verse 9 is just unapologetically violent. A blazing furnace. That is language designed to convey total, complete annihilation, leaving absolutely no doubt about what happens when you oppose the king. And the psalm just keeps listing the consequences. It's not just about losing a battle. It's the complete failure of all their plans. It's the erasure of their legacy by wiping out their descendants. And it's the ultimate humiliation of having to turn and run. This is a picture of total and absolute defeat on every single level you can imagine. So after that incredibly intense vision of destruction, the psalm pivots one last time. It doesn't linger on the enemy's gruesome fate. Instead, it comes full circle, right back to where it started, a song of praise. And listen for this subtle but really important shift that happens here. The song began with "The King Rejoices." It was all about one person. But it ends with a collective voice, a we, which widens the celebration from just one guy to the entire community.
This final verse is the grand finale. It becomes this communal anthem. We will sing and praise your might. The king's personal victory has now become a reason for everyone to celebrate the power that made it happen. It just ties the whole narrative together, ending on this really powerful, unified note of worship. So we're left with this ancient text that weaves together profound joy with really brutal violence. And it leaves us with a question that honestly echoes all through history. When the celebration of one group's victory is built on the complete and total destruction of another, what does that truly reveal about the nature of power, of justice, and of triumph itself? Something to think about.